Welcome to Kitchen Design 101, where we're going to talk about mixing styles and finishes in the kitchen, and this is part 1 of 2, where we'll talk about cabinetry finishes and countertops. So let's get started. First things first, when mixing styles and finishes in a kitchen, you need to focus on both color and texture. Both are crucial to creating a really cohesive kitchen design in the end. The perfect example of this is pulling in really natural elements like wood and mixing them with softer, more solid painted finishes, which really helps to balance out the design and let them play off of each other, and it just creates a really natural balance that's really pleasing to the eye when you walk into a space, as opposed to feeling really distracted and busy with competing patterns and finishes. When you're using 2 different color paint finishes in a kitchen, or even one, to be honest, one solid paint color, it's best to break it up somehow with some texture and pattern to create depth in the kitchen design. An example of this could be using a butcher block countertop with your painted cabinets, or hardwood floor that have some graining with your painted cabinets. Another element that you could pull in would be a textured backsplash, whether that's a natural stone or a subway tile that has a bevel to it, just something that brings in more dimension and depth so that you don't have all really flat surfaces with your painted cabinets. Marble and granite is another way to do this because you're bringing in pattern as opposed to texture, and that really allows for everything in the kitchen to shine as opposed to competing with each other or, the worst case scenario, falling flat. Another way to add texture into the kitchen is to use glass. It really breaks up the paint. Some people even use a different contrasting color inside the glass cabinetry just to add even more depth to the kitchen design overall. Two-tone cabinet colors and their finishes can really be softened by adding accent pieces and texture into the kitchen. An example of this would be if you have a wood grain island like you see in the photo and a painted perimeter, adding in the wood stain to the perimeter somehow, such as a wood cabinetry hood over the stove. Another way to lighten the 2 different textures of cabinetry going on in the kitchen is to break it up with glass doors and beadboard paneling on the island. It just adds another dimension to these finishes and really softens the whole look. Another trick to bringing this whole look together would be using the same countertop on both the perimeter and the island, which also really ties the 2 different cabinetry finishes together in one space. But we will talk more about using countertop, whether it's 1 finish or 2 finishes of countertop, in the next part of this series. And that's it for part 1 of 2 of Kitchen Design 101 involving finishes. Stay tuned for part 2, which is all about countertops. Thanks for listening.